everybody, my name's Kim and I'm the program coordinator at the Environmental Center, and we are out in our woods on the trail, and I thought we could go for a little walk, see what we find. Come on. Hope you're having a great day. It's really nice out today. We're on the hunt for the perfect lichen example. Wild lichen. No, it won't do. Where are my shrubbies at? Ah. It's like the kids took all of it. Oh, wow. Look at this. Look what I found. Can you see that? This is a really awesome find and something that we see a lot here at McDowell, and you might even see at your house. This is something that's called lichen, and lichen is pretty cool because it grows on a lot of surfaces. So as you can see right here, it's just growing on some tree bark, but you can also find it growing on rocks and on actual trees. Actually, we can see some over here. So all of this green stuff that's growing on this tree, and even some of this white stuff, is called lichen. And lichen is really cool because it's actually made up of two different things working together to form these really awesome organisms. So lichen is a partnership between two things. One part, the fungus, and the second part is algae. And so the fungus allows the lichen to attach to whatever it's growing on, and it kind of like builds the home for it. And then the algae is able to photosynthesize, and so it is able to create the food and the energy for it to grow. So without both of those things working together, we wouldn't have any of these really cool things. So you can actually see a lot of this stuff looks really different, and there are over 10,000 types of lichen in the world. And new ones are being discovered all of the time. So you can see this like kind of crusty stuff. You can kind of break down lichen into 3 or 4 categories. So the first one is crusty. So that's this stuff that's really flat here. And that is a lot of times the first thing that's going to grow on a surface is crusty lichen. And after that is well established on a surface, you can start to grow this leafy lichen. So it kind of looks like a head of lettuce, and it's, you know, movable. It's kind of damp, but it's not super moist. And then, so you've got crusty, you've got leafy, and then what's really cool is in some places, you can actually find this shrubby lichen. And it kind of looks like all these hairs growing up, kind of looks like a crazy beard, some people say. There's actually a type of lichen called old man's beard, which grows in this area. And another really cool thing, you know, we've got all 3 of the things here on this one piece of wood, the crusty, the leafy, and the shrubby. Is that a lot of times leafy and shrubby lichen only grows in places that have good air quality. And so lichen is a bioindicator, which means it tells us how healthy an environment is. And so we find a lot of this lichen here, which means that the air around Camp McDowell and in Alabama is really healthy, which is awesome. So we found another example of lichen out here in the woods, and this one's on a twig. So like I said, you know, we can find it on any part of a tree, we can find it on rocks. Sometimes you can even find it growing like on a fence post in your backyard. We find that at camp sometimes too. And actually down here, I also found we have some mushrooms or some fungus. And so like I said earlier, lichen is both two parts, fungus, which would be like this mushroom, and then algae. And so fungus usually will only survive in an environment like after rain, and they are only there for a short time. But with our lichen, you can see we've got some little tiny shrubby lichen here, and some leafy back behind it. So lichen, because it's the fungus with the algae, and the algae is providing that food, that means that lichen is able to grow all year round, and we can find it all over the forest in lots of different types. So actually I brought along a little magnifying glass, and if you have something like this at home, I really encourage you to take it out and take it outside and try and find some lichen in your backyard or in your neighborhood. Like I said, you can even find it growing on like other wooden or rock surfaces around your house. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a tree. So you can just get really up close, and it's just a totally different perspective to see the lichen up close. So I really encourage you to do that. Now, some people oftentimes ask if moss is a lichen or how that is related. And moss is a plant, so it's photosynthesizing, whereas lichen has that fungus part of it. So it is photosynthesizing, but not as much as a plant would be. But lichen still takes in carbon dioxide and puts out oxygen. So it's still helping to clean the air for us, which is awesome. But we talked about those three types of lichen: the crusty, the leafy, and the shrubby. And that's actually the order they grow in. And while they're growing and adding different layers onto the tree or the rock or whatever surface they're growing on, they can actually trap dirt and soil and start to build a habitat, which allows for moss to grow. So there's some moss over here on this tree. And the moss is, you know, a lot softer, very green, right? Because it's photosynthesizing. And you can see back behind it here, there's some crusty lichen. And so probably here, this lichen trapped enough soil and water to allow some of this moss to start to grow. And you can even see here, there's some lichen back there. So you can often find them in the same area, which is really awesome. And then after moss starts to grow, you can start having little plants and other things start to grow. So just a really important and awesome part of our ecosystem and the life cycle out here. So just a couple of really cool facts about lichen that I think are really awesome. Lichen actually covers 7% of Earth's surface. So 7% of our world is covered in lichen, which means that there's definitely probably some that you can find in your backyard or in your neighborhood. Lichen can also grow 3 feet in 1 year. So that's huge. That's really fast. So it's very adaptable to different environments. And some lichen can actually survive on surfaces for thousands of years. So just a really cool organism. And I really encourage you to go out at home in your neighborhoods and try and find some. And I actually have a little tool here. So you may actually be able to screenshot this image, but this is just a little key to the 3 types of lichen. So the leafy, the crusty, and the shrubby. So you can take a picture of this from the video, or just write down the different types and try and find them in your backyard. So thanks for joining us today. And I hope that you're liking this video as much as I like lichen.